What's up, family? Man, we have Mark Baysinger, aka OnTheMark, known as a celebrity barber in the Pacific Northwest, mainly in Seattle, and really all around the world. Man, this dude has done great things, impacted a lot of people. But he's an entrepreneur, business owner, a producer, a philanthropist, and just an all-around influencer. Man, this dude, he got the juice. So, someone who's just influenced, he's been the influencer to influencers in the Pacific Northwest, man, and around the world. So I always found that was real dope. So he has a business and a brand called OnTheMark, which initially was founded in 2004 in Sunnyside, Washington, eventually moving his business to Seattle. OnTheMark is now located in Bellevue, Washington, which is about 20 minutes from downtown Seattle. He has 3 children, Amaya, Marcus, and Maddox, which I love. Man, they became good friends of mine and just the most beautiful kids. And it was really dope getting to know them, man, during my time in Seattle. But in everything Mark does, he places his children and God first, acting as his inspiration and his motivation. So his work is dedicated to making purposeful connections from behind the chair as a barber. He's had the privilege of cutting professional athletes, celebrities, different executives, entrepreneurs, and just the everyday hardworking individual, man. So he relishes these opportunities to learn more about each and every client that comes into his shop. Man, Mark, my dude, OnTheMark, how you doing, bro? How you feeling?
McGee, man, first and foremost, Andrew, thank you so much for having me on. This is years and years in the making. People do not know how long we've been talking about this, from the garage in Renton, Washington, where I came from Eastern Washington, had 2 shops out there for 10 years, soaked my oats, and through the favor of the man above, I was able to connect with the 2012 world champion Seattle Seahawks.
Sure.
We both had mutual connections through the team, through players we had worked with, and quite honestly, we forged a brotherhood that became like family. Honestly, you were there for me in ways that I can never ever repay you, or certain things that were very personal to me, that you helped carry me through in ways that I knew we were connected in the spirit, and brothers in Christ from first and foremost. So
yeah, bro,
say thank you for having me. I'm doing amazing. I'm in this beautiful shop in Bellevue, Washington. It's been my my dream, to finally put my flag here in a place that, quite honestly, I was looking to put about 7 years ago. And it wasn't that right time yet, but now we are here, and we're here to live in our purpose, help people stay on the mark. And I'll let you know a little bit more about that, what that means to me. But thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into it, bro. And likewise, bro. Like, you don't know, like, how many times, like, I just needed to vent, bro. I come and get a haircut and just needed to just get some stuff off my chest, off my sternum. And it was like, man, bro, you became a brother to me, bro, in those times, bro. And like, we had elevated conversations, like high level, like personal, deep, intimate type conversations, bro, where like it was pulling us out of certain things that we needed to get put out of. It was pushing us forward in ways that we didn't know we needed to be pushed, bro. So I just want to thank you for that, bro. Like, it's forever imprinted into my spirit, bro. The times that we had, bro. You know what I mean? And I hate that I'm not still in the area anymore, but like, those times will live and last forever, bro. So I just want to appreciate you. You didn't have to make time out for this, but you did. So I appreciate it, bro. So we can dive in, bro, if you ready.
Shoot, you know me, bro. When you what they say, when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So I was built to fellowship with the world, is what I like to call it. And You know, that's what barbershop talk is. That's what, you know, my ministry's from the chair, right? So if it's to a person in the chair, if it's to a mass audience, I just love people, man. So I'd love to share, you know, more of the story of you know, what we got going. So let's get it popping.
Yeah, let's roll. Let's roll. Yeah. So first and foremost, bro, like, you know, I've always loved your brand. You know, I think that it has like this like multi-type meaning to it, you know, like because your name is in it and it's associated with a different like a type of like a livelihood, like a way of life. Speaking of who you are as Mark Baysinger, but aka On the Mark, can you let the people know, like, just from, you know, a standpoint of like what's in your heart and what's always been in your spirit about what does it mean to be on the mark?
It's a great question. You know, honestly, what it means to me to be on the mark, I have a saying that I say, you know, if you're not on the mark, you're off the mark. And it doesn't mean like, yo, if you come get a haircut from me, you know, you're on the mark. If not, it's so much deeper than that. To me, it means when you're on the mark, it's always meant to me, you're living in your purpose, right?
Yeah.
You're living in your purpose. You're on your mark. You're on your mark of where God put us. That's why he brought us on this earth. Each and every one of us is chosen to be on the mark, right? To be in our purpose. And so on the mark, to me, that's what it's always stood for. That's what the you know, the heart and soul of what On the Mark is all about. And it's what I encourage people to live in, right? When they get out of the chair, I always say, man, you on the mark. But you know, it's not just because they look good from a vanity standpoint. I truly believe that looking and feeling good is a mental health thing. It supersedes vanity, right?
Yeah.
And so when I say, you know, you're on the mark when you get out of the chair, if I'm really doing my job right, I'm priming your mind for expectations for great things to happen when you get out of the chair.
Yeah.
And so you know, I also say like what I can leave with you from a mindful and purposeful standpoint, from fellowship, from, you know, and some guys don't like to talk. It's just the energy, you know, we get an opportunity to touch the scalp, right?
Yes.
We're pouring into people by even how many men do you allow to touch your scalp? Not many, right?
Right.
It's not just an opportunity, but it's a to me, I always say it's a what's the best word for it is a I guess opportunity is a good word, but it's a responsibility.
Yes.
It's responsibility to make sure that every person that comes in that chair, I don't care if they're, you know, a garbage truck worker, janitor, everyday Joe like us, or the highest level tech executive the world's ever seen to an A-list celebrity. I don't care. I care about pouring into each individual that comes in that chair and really, 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 you know, my prayer every day is like, Lord, I don't know what this man, I don't know what the person's that I'm going to come in contact with today's needs, but I do know that I want you to flow through me from a vessel standpoint in a way that I could never do on my own. And so, you know, when I really am in my bag, I really feel like, you know, success leaves clues. And a lot of people that I've worked around, somehow, some way, man, their success and it's not because they get a haircut, it's because I truly believe there's a small piece of letting them feel their best to be able to execute at the highest level, right? So,
Bro. So like this is what I love about your brand. And it's kind of like the same. It was like this with greater. There was a spiritual like intervention in my soul that allowed me to come up with the greater like brand. You know what I mean? Like I was so tied into it because it was spiritual for me. You know, the same with iinfluence. You know what I mean? I had different things that like inspire me to come up with like, oh man, like iinfluence like it. And then I start putting the pieces together. But like when I think of On the Mark and I'm like, man, you have people in their most vulnerable like situations and like really times in their life where they're going under a razor or you're in their head, like you're cutting them up, you're making them look good, feel good. How would you say that like between the brand itself and then like the chair, Like how have those things kind of came together in order for you to like maximize your influence, bro?
It's funny because that's why, barbershop talk for me when I started pushing it years ago, 10 years ago, uh, was really important to me was, can you run that question back one more time? Say that question again, okay?
Yeah. It's just like how has both your brand and like the philosophy behind On the Mark, and then people being in that chair in that vulnerable space, like how has that really like kind of open doors for you to be able to like really build relationships and get in, deal with
Right,
people and then
right,
have them trust you essentially.
right. That's a great question. I think, at the end of the day, it all comes from, being genuine, honestly, really, really listening to what each individual person needs from the chair. So some clients that I've been with for over 12 years that I don't really say much throughout the conversation because maybe talking too much while I'm cutting their hair makes them nervous, right? There's some
Right.
person, everybody's different, right? But to meet people where they're at is
Mhm.
the key to me.
Yeah.
And it's really not like pushing my own agenda or pushing like I have a bunch of different interests that I have, but really it comes down to listening to what they need for that specific moment and really caring about how I can, fellowship with them to be able to get them to not only look their best, but also feel their best from what's in from what's from what's within the inside, right?
Yes.
And so to me, what makes great relationships is trust and rapport.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's who what might get you there, but it's what what kind of person you are. And if you're great at what you do, if you stick, you stay and you flourish.
Yeah.
And those are things that I truly genuinely believe in, right? And
Mhm.
so at the end of the day, um, I always tell people, man, if like my journey, if people really knew the entirety of it, like I didn't just get on with the Seahawks in 2012 and lucked up and I just, Brandon Browner met me with Earl Thomas was cutting his dreadlocks off. I became his go-to guy, which thank you, Jesus, for Earl and his family and the Thomas family. I will always be forever grateful to them because they allowed me to live at their house whenever I was from 3 hours away. My family was from back home. I had two barbershops back in Eastern Washington and Tri-Cities. And without them taking a chance on me and believing in me, and it goes back to his grandfather was a pastor as well, right? They were rooted in the Holy Spirit. And so
Yeah.
for him to be able to reach out and say, hey man, like there's more and more guys wanting haircuts from you, like just stay the night here. And I
Yeah.
remember being like at your crib? And he was like, yeah, bro, like you don't need to drive 3 hours. It's midnight right now. And
Mhm.
so for them, from that opportunity of them opening their doors to even allow me to grow and to be able to not only go to the first Super Bowl in New York City as the team barber, where the USA Today, the Associated Press picked up the story because my local newspaper did something about it. Because quite honestly, from where I'm from Sunnyside, Washington. It's a small farm town, 16,000 people. Stuff like this is not, it's unheard of. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
There's tons of barbers out here. And so I guess what I'm getting at is just like, the opportunity to hopefully serve as a beacon to the next small town kid that's out
Right.
there. I
Right.
always wanted to be in the NBA or the NFL or the MLB and or I wanted to be like Stuart Scott and be a Sports Center anchor because I wanted to be a part of sports somehow.
Right.
And at the end of the day, being a barber, there's no greater connection.
Yeah.
And I think what's the coolest part about it is to be able to marry, like, yeah, I didn't make the league one day, but I was able to marry the skill that God gave me. And
Exactly.
because I was being purposeful about pouring into the people and really you know, rejoicing in loving what I do and having a skill set to do it, I'll never forget there were some things happening in my life about 3 months prior to actually me connecting with the Seahawks, where I had to, have a couple come to Jesus moments where I had to straighten some things out in my life. And I'll never forget it because 3 months later, after I did that, bro, boom, I get the call from Brown and Browner, or it was a DM through text message. He was coming down, actually was cutting some of the semi-pro football players for the Tri-City Fever. He had came from the CFL. Some of his ex-teammates were now playing in the Arena League. I was cutting some of his ex-teammates. I didn't know anything about Instagram. It was brand new.
Right.
And he started liking pictures, being like, oh, that's my homie. I'm like, and this was, he hadn't even played the season yet, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, man, what's up? Like, who's this guy? But I didn't think much of it. I walk in, my grandmother's dying. We're going to like say a rosary. She was on her deathbed. He likes a picture of me and Evander Holyfield. He's like, yo, that's my favorite athlete. I remember seeing it walking in. Didn't really ring any. He had, I mean, it mattered, but I was focused on my grandma at the time. A month goes by. Next thing you know, the Seahawks are coming on a 12th man tour, and they're coming to Tri-Cities, Washington. They had just lost to the Atlanta Falcons, where they were this close away from going to the NFC Championship game. In my opinion, they would have beat the Niners because we already had their number by that time.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing by a field goal. So fast forward, I ended up paying my shop in Sunnyside. I had two shops. I sold my shop in Sunnyside, which was my original OnTheMark flagship location.
Mhm.
I paid it forward to the guy that worked for me for 8 years, sold him the equipment in the shop, didn't make any money off of it really. I remember driving home to Tri-Cities and never forget it. I'm looking up and the sun's coming down on me and I shed some tears, bro. And I was like, Lord, I don't know what's next for me, but I know there's something more, right?
Right.
And I ended up taking that money, flipping it, moving locations within these small 3-month window to right across the street where the 12th man tour was coming, let alone I didn't know they were coming there.
Yeah.
And I was already a Seahawks fan from day one. When I opened my first barber shop at 19, 20 years old, the first thing I did was buy season tickets to the Seahawks with my father because he was kind of like against me being a barber. He was like, son, you don't want to be self-employed. It's a hard road. And that was kind of my homage to my dad. Like, look, like, you know, like I was able to gift him something off the craft that I just, it meant a lot to me because it was always a family connecting thing that we did after church. We'd watch Seahawks games. We didn't have cable. They were the local team and they were terrible.
Right.
And so, yeah, to be able to, you know, buy those season tickets and do that with my father, man, who knew 10 years later that they would be, I would be getting on with them. But anyways, yeah, Brandon basically called me up. I was already at the 12th man tour event. There was like lines around the thing. Like I was just a fan. And my Instagram wasn't working that day and it wouldn't power up. It wouldn't power up. And then I ended up shutting it off, turning it on. And I'm already in there waiting for them. And then I get like 4 text messages or DMs from him saying, what's up, bro? Like I need a cut. And I remember looking at it and he had hit me like at 7 in the morning. And this was like 4 in the afternoon. And I thought I missed my opportunity. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I missed this all day. Bro, I'm not joking. All my family was inside there, my barbers and stuff. I walked out of the building, bro. They were like, where are you going? I'm like, it's over, bro. I'm just going back to the shop. I was like upset. And Brandon ended up hitting me back. He was like, nah, bro, come back over here. So I went back over there. There's lines around this place. Like you're not getting in there. And I remember some of the Seahawks staff that do the tours were like, well, who are you here for? And I'm like, Brandon. They're like, oh, he's working right now. You need to get back in line. And then Brandon ended up coming to the front and being like, oh, this is my barber. And this before I'd even cut him ever, bro. And I was just like, what is happening? And yeah, long story short, I ended up cutting him later on that night. And he invited me up to Seattle for training camp. And it was right when Earl Thomas was cutting his dreadlocks off. And he ended up texting me saying, yo, Earl needs a cut. Is it okay if I give him your number? And I remember just reading that like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of how it all began. And the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, bro. Like what I love about your story is like you found a way to be consistently purpose driven, right? And then you coupled that with an excellent skill set and you married the two. And because of that, and because of your drive and dedication and your commitment to your craft, that ended up like just expanding your reach and giving you like over time a bigger and bigger, larger and larger platform. All the way up until now, they call you a celebrity barber. So what does that mean for you? Like, how do you take in that? Like, I know there's some ego and pride that can come with being, you know, called a celebrity or whatever, but like, how do you know, accept that role, accept that, you know, definition of yourself and still stay true and on the mark?
You know, I say this all the time. A misconception in the barber industry is, you know, it's about, you know, you say celebrity barber, and oftentimes barbers try to become celebrities when it comes to like, you know, it's about them, and they think that like, you know, they're the celebrity next to the celebrity, and that's not the case at all. I used to think the term celebrity barber was corny, honestly. And then I was on set one day, and I was working with Russell on like I think it was a Sunday Night Football shoot with Carrie Underwood. We were on Warner Brothers Studios. We was in LA, and they come up to me and they're like, "So are you a celebrity stylist or a general stylist?" And I was like, "What's the difference?" And they're like 10 times the pay. And I said, "Oh, I'm a celebrity barber." And so at the end of the day, you know, for me, it was a business thing. But at the, you know, being a celebrity barber to me, I've earned that from a sense of, you know, I've been doing this over a decade. Being a celebrity barber to me means, though, is just more influence when it comes to, you know, I work in Major League Baseball. I have a, you know, a barbershop at T-Mobile Park. I know we can get into this a little bit later, but what I found is everybody's influenced off of something. I don't care if you're a celebrity. I don't care if you're Mike Trout in the MLB to, you know, Russell Wilson or you know, a Julio Rodriguez in baseball. Everybody has somebody that they kind of look up to, and it almost brings them back to being a kid again, right? And so what I found is that what I think is the coolest part about being a celebrity barber is, you know, baseball players are usually football fans. They got like, you know, fantasy football drafts during the season. Like, you know, football players usually basketball fans. And so when you cut their favorite player, it almost brings them back to being excited to be in your chair.
Right.
Like, I'll never forget, I won't say the player's name, but there was an MLB player that they called me like 2 weeks prior before he was coming into town. And they were like, "Yo, such and such wants to know if you're going to be in town." And I was like, "Oh, is everything all right? Or what's going on?" You know, and I've cut them before. And they were like, "Yeah, you just want to make sure you're going to be in town." So I pull up to the ballpark, and he's leaning against the barber room, like waiting for me to get there. I'm there like, you know, half an hour early. He was already ready to go. I'm like, "What's up?" You know, I ain't gonna say his name, but he's one of the best in the world at baseball.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "What's going on, Mark?" And I'm like, "Yo, what's up, bro? What's up?" And he was like, "Oh man, my fantasy football draft's next week, man. And I know you cut Jimmy Graham. Like, is he good to go this year? Like, is he ready to go?"
Yeah.
And I remember being like, "Oh my gosh," like, because it was just dope to see like the influence it has. You know, with the influencers all the way down to obviously the everyday Joes such as us, for them to get excited to be in the chair. Like that's what means so much to me, to have that, you know, that slogan celebrity barber, is it just creates more influence and more of a cachet to be able to infect them with more mindful and purposeful conversations, with more fellowship. And, you know, I always say when you are leading somebody back, like you say, you got a razor to their neck, right? Like there's a trust that goes into letting another man like blindly hold a blade, you know, next to your damn neck sometimes, or just even like a man touching your scalp. Like not many men do that. I don't let anybody touch my scalp.
Yeah.
And so I always say there's a sensory that you're opening up of trust to be able to infuse them with more positivity, with more fellowship, with more influence, right? And so the only way I like to use that term, and why I felt it's had a benefit to, you know, the term celebrity barber, has been because I'm able to, you know, have more, I guess, cultural relevancy to them listening to and wanting to apply what I'm throwing down to them. So that is what it really it's been the coolest part about being a celebrity barber.
Yeah. No, that was a wonderful breakdown, bro. Cause like I get it, I see it. You know what I mean? Like that's why God gives us influence, bro. It's like to see how we're gonna cultivate it, to see how we're gonna use it to impact His children, bro. You
Right.
know? And like I look at, you know, our influencers nowadays, especially athletes, bro, is like gladiators, bro. Like they are the prophets of, you know, they are like the chosen one for society, how society looks and views. So they have this different level of responsibility. So people like you and myself, we have been in those places where like we are the influencer to the influencer. And that's a special place to be, bro. And I think that you've done it like in a type of way, bro, at the highest level that I've seen anybody operate, bro. Like it's been a really a blessing to get to know you, bro. But then also, an inspiration to see how you move and how you roll with, this type of impact.
Right.
All right, man. So, being in Seattle, of course, the Seattle Seahawks is people worship them. You look at, the Legion of Boom, you look at Russell Wilson.
Best ever, Legion of Boom.
Best ever, like, come on, man. Like they're gonna go in history, bro. Like the run that they were on for so long, bro, and the type of talent that they combined together was ruthless, bro. So but you had the ability to not only cut personally, a lot of these superstars, you know what I'm saying? And but you were also named the the official barber for the Seattle Seahawks for some time. I know it came with some challenges and some pros and cons, but can you kind of talk about like what that was like for you? How did this deal go down? Like, how did it come about?
Yeah, no, it's kind of circling back to, started on the 12th Man Tour, connecting with Brandon Browner, on there. He connected me with Earl. But, quite honestly, people have no idea, man. Like I've worked in the MLB for the last 9 years, got a barbershop at T-Mobile Park. I can name tons of things that the man above has done for me, but to be in that specific locker room during that time,
Yeah.
it literally set the tone for the rest of my career when it comes on, when it comes to how to move, the intensity and just the true masters of their craft. And what I learned so much from that time was being in that locker room, how they practiced, how they took attention to detail. You know, Earl, Cam, Russell, Marshawn, like Sherm, like these dudes were pros. And the way I saw them galvanize each other was something that I will never forget. Thinking about, I used to have anxiety walking into the commons at the high school growing up. And the fact that I was able to walk into that locker room and, as the team barber, not right off the bat, I earned it. Eventually I cut one guy led to the next, the Bobby Wagners, the Malcolm Smiths. I guess what I'm getting at is just like, to be able to carry myself and to walk through those doors, it would have never happened if they didn't treat me like I was a part of the crew too, even though I didn't play football. What I've picked up from when it comes to world championship squads, world championship locker rooms, world championship cultures, it doesn't necessarily mean just a sports team. It could be in corporate America. It could be in my own barbershop. It could be at home with your family, right? There's a commonality that really proliferates through each and every championship culture. And quite frankly, the commonality that I've found that proliferates through every winning culture, even some people will be like, oh, it's easy to do when you're winning, like it's fun, but like it's hard to do when you're losing. No, that ain't true. Right. I've been around teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, right? With Coach Cash, he was the first coach that I got to cut when I first got to the MLB. And they're known as like the modern day Moneyball team, right? They're the lowest payroll in baseball that's went to the World Series against teams that have been, the highest paid team in baseball. And I guess what I'm getting at is what proliferates through those locker rooms to me is your win's like my win. Mm-hmm. Even simple. I noticed the littlest things as a barber, right? I could be in the barber room. There could be a door right there. In my barber room at the MLB, it's on the way to walking onto the field, right? Where guys will walk through to go to batting practice, to go do fielding. And the good teams or the good organizations or the cultures that are on the uptick, man, every dude that walks by that door, they're gonna shoot the shit with the guy, or they're gonna walk it, even walking by, they'll be like, man, F that dude's hair up, or they're gonna come in and be like, oh, give him that chili bowl cut, or and just like I think Steve Kerr, they did a study on, touching people, right? Like even touching your teammates, high fives, whatever it may be, like that. There's something about trading energy like that, right? And so those infectious cultures that your win's like my win's like your win. There's nobody doing something locker room that takes away from anybody else or makes them feel like they're not as valued. Like that is what championship cultures are built on. The more
Yes.
you get, the bad teams or the teams that don't have that, the guy's walking by the door and he's looking in and he's keeping walking. He ain't saying nothing. It's hard enough to get through the day because they might be on a losing streak or whatever. But I've also seen teams that are on losing streaks or aren't having such a great season, still having that infectious environment. And guess what? Within the next year or two, they're in the World Series.
Right.
And it's like, so I guess what I'm getting at is just like, I pay very close attention to, energy to me is the real currency. And so energy doesn't lie. That infectious spirit doesn't lie. I call it the Holy Spirit. That's what I live upon. And so, I love the saying that I always say, everything you see here, back behind me, I don't know if you can see him, but Mr. October is right up there. I mean, that's Reggie Jackson, right? He comes by and I've had the opportunity to connect with him for like 4 seasons in a row. Every time he comes in, it's great. The guy right in the middle, right here, right there, that's Mark, and that's Russell Wilson. The one time that Frank ended up leaving to the Chiefs, right? He was my closest client at one time on the defensive side. Russell was my closest client. And the same exact year, even though it wasn't with the same team, Frank signed the highest paid contract in the NFL as a defensive player the very same offseason as Russ signed the highest paid NFL contract of all time. Yeah. Those are two of my two closest clients, right?
Right.
Like this last year, I almost had 3 rookies of the year in the same season that I was able to work with in the same city. Like Kenneth Walker got ripped off, no offense to Garrett Wilson for winning the rookie of the year. But in my opinion, I thought K9 won it. But Matty Berniers won in the NHL rookie of the year. Julio won rookie of the year in the MLB. And Kenneth Walker should have won it in the NFL. So I think, like, I'm not this good. But he is.
Yeah, and that was my next question, man. But he is, you know what I mean? It's like, do you think, and I know the answer to this, but I want the world to kind of hear, and the listeners to hear, your heart behind this. But do you think that there's any coincidence that all of these players who are in your chair had the successes they've had and are the type of influencers that they are? Like, do you see that as a coincidence, or you think it's like God ordained?
I honestly believe that, God has, I never, so let me put this out there first and foremost. I never want to take away from their hard work of what they did in order to get themselves there, to put themselves in positions to do those things. I truly believe it takes an army, right? It takes a lot of people around them to like cultivate the success, right? But I also don't discredit the smallest piece of a recipe,
right?
That could, one thing you cook something, you leave one piece of recipe out, it ain't gonna taste the same,
right?
And so at the end of the day, I'm a very small piece of God blessing me to have these opportunities to be able to see these things. But what I found is like, I truly believe God put me here for a reason. And now when I first started, I was closer in age to these guys where, I lived with Earl and we were hanging out more when it comes to off the field, and I was more aligned with the players, right? Because I was close. I was just happy to be there, bro. I was just like, is this happening? Like, I wasn't from Seattle, so it wasn't like I was just hanging out with the stars now because I was dogging out all my friends in high school that were in the same city. No, I'm from 3 hours away, bro. Right, so when I got on with these guys and they won the Super Bowl, and if anybody knows anything about Earl, like, he is a samurai, bro, when it comes to one of the most intense. When I say intense, I just mean this man was so dedicated to his craft, bro. He was on some like Bruce Lee type level stuff. And I know sometimes it came across to different people like it was like, like kind of, you know, rub people wrong a certain way, but they just didn't understand him, bro, in my opinion, when it comes to, man, this man was different, and the greatest in the world are different, right?
Right.
So the fact that God put me in his house where he taught me how to be a pro. I remember he used to tell me, Mark, you know why you're successful right now and why you're doing well. And I was like, why? And he was like, because you don't do too much. And,
Mhm.
you know, to teach me how to get in and out, you know, having the Seahawk gig, man, like I'm forever grateful. Like I had to learn some certain things the hard way, right? I had to learn that this is big business, man. And like, just because like I'm enjoying it, it seems like it's, you know, like it's a passion. I didn't know any better, right?
Right.
But now there's certain things I do and don't do, right? Like I could be someone's best friend, but like unless we just won a World Series or something crazy, because my age difference is so different right now, I've took on more of a mentorship, or not even just a mentorship of trying to tell them things, but just be there to love on them, man. Be there to you know. Oftentimes, I'll tell a lot of the rookies that come through, like when I was cutting Cam or Earl or Russ, these guys, anytime I was pulling up to the house to cut their hair, bro, there was either a massage table being broken down or there was being one putting up right after I was done getting the haircut. They had an iPad in their hand watching film. Like, like these are things that the pros do, bro. It's all about rhythm and routine, right? And
Mhm.
so what I've tried to do for players that I cut, just like a Quandre Diggs or a like, you know, true pros that I've been blessed with, is like, I'll cut your hair, but I'm not cutting at midnight one week, then it's 6 p.m. one week, and then it's like, nah, pick a time every week that you want me to cut your hair. If you want to be on the schedule, meaning like a part of my players that I take care of,
Mhm.
then we need a set schedule and a set time, because I need a set schedule and a set time. And that allows me to hopefully help them kind of get more in that rhythm and routine in the same way, right? And so
Right.
it's not about like trying to tell them what to do, but it's about, hey, like this is what I've seen works, right? The greatest in the world leave nothing to chance, bro. If you're going to
Mhm.
train, you're going to diet, you're also going to look and feel your best, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
so, you know, that's kind of where I come from when it comes to how I can influence in a small little way,
Right.
uh, you know, those type of things.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, bro. Like, yeah, I love it, man. And you know, just on point with your thinking, man. Like, especially when you're talking about rhythm and routine, man, and just getting your reps. Like these guys, they understand it. You know, when it comes to athletics and sports and practice. You know what I'm saying? So to take that concept and let it overflow
Right.
into their daily lives about how they look, how they feel, bro, I think is just like really, really dope way of handling business. I'm gonna time out right quick because I want to ask about Russell Wilson, and I don't know if you want me to or if you want to go any.
Go back to you. Go back. Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, yeah. So what do you want? So what do you want to touch on, Russell? Talk to me.
I don't know. I was just gonna leave it up to you. I was just gonna ask, like, how did you go from being the barber for the team to like mainly prioritizing Russell as
Yeah,
his
no
personal
problem. Let's
barber?
do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay.
You know, my thing is this, bro. Is like, even though we've had conversations we have, especially with this health scare that I got right now, bro. Like,
Mhm.
all I can really say is, man, like my gratitude and just not holding any resentment or any type of like ill will towards any of that kind, like anything that I felt like, yo, could have went this way, could have went that way. Like at the end of the day, bro, I wouldn't be in this shop right here at all without each and every individual that came into my life throughout this process and journey. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And he had a major integral part, bro, in helping me grow. Maybe not by monetarily him paying me all the time, but which I did make great money off of like stuff. But at the end of the day, the opportunity to keep showing up and keep doing that. So I'm gonna keep it positive, but I'm also gonna talk about like how I don't attach myself to one person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I
Yeah.
gotta keep my own identity. So
Okay. Perfect. 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 Okay. All right. So, bro, that was a wonderful description of like your mindset, bro, and how you approach things. So I want to talk about, how do you go from, because you've cut a lot of guys' hair, a lot of athletes, star athletes, but one kind of stuck out. So I wanted to talk about like how did you go from being primarily the Seattle Seahawks' official barber to then being primarily, Russell Wilson's personal barber that, he would fly you out to certain areas, certain places. When he's on the show, he married Sierra. So all that got, really heightened,
Right.
that whole celebrity of who he was, just
Right.
by marrying Sierra just took his whole celebrity up to a new level. But you were a part of all that process, man. So tell me about like how, just a little bit about that story, bro, and what you learned from it, or kind of just like what that experience was for you.
No, man, it was to be honest with you, it was a blessing on blessing. First off, much love to the Wilson family. C, Russ, man. Thank you guys first and foremost for the opportunity to bless the family for so many years. But Russ to me will forever be dear to my heart when it comes to he's a competitor, right? And so he always challenged me in ways that he pushed me in many ways to whether it be the quote of it's not the job dress for the job you want, not the job you have, or perception is reality to the masses, even though you might be like, oh, I know my own heart, but what you put out there is oftentimes what people know, right? And so just the way he carried himself before Russ got paid, right? Before he got paid, and he was on his rookie contract. He was doing all of the gigs when it comes to Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards. I've done the cover of GQ with him, to Rolling Stone, to pretty much every production set he had ever done for a good of 7 to 10 years. I was the guy on set doing all those things. And what's funny about this is when I got on with the Seahawks and they won the Super Bowl in New York, the first one, I hadn't cut Russell yet, right? And I'll never forget it. I'm walking in and I'm going to cut the team's hair because they're about to go see Obama, because they're going to the White House to get, I guess I think it was they were getting recognized as the Super Bowl champion team, right? And I'll never forget. I'm walking in the locker room. I'm going through some things back home in Eastern Washington that were, there were some life-changing moments that I was having to navigate. So I was muscling it. I used to have to get up at 3 a.m. in Tri-Cities and drive for 4 hours over the pass, so in the middle of winter. And I remember walking in the facility. I was tired, and I remember looking over. And before you get to the barber room, the locker room's to the left. And I'll never forget it. Russ was like, "Mark," and I looked over, and he was like, "Did Earl tell you I was trying to get a hold of you?" And I was like, "Huh?" And he was like, yeah, he's like, I did this cancer research thing where they did like a mohawk on him because he had a speaking engagement. He's like, I want to cut it off and I want to do the Tony Parker. And I was like, the Tony Parker? I was like, let's do it. And I'm like, so when? He just started following me right there. And he went, just sat in the barber chair right behind me. He's like, ready to do it now? And I'm not joking you, bro, because Russ was like, to me, like he was the man, you know what I mean? When I said the man, just he was the Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes, going to, winning the Super Bowl in your second year. It was special, right? So I gave him the Tony Parker, and I'll never forget it, man. Like I'll never forget it because it was a moment of like I had to pinch myself, like, is this really happening right now? So kind of fast forward all the cuts you see when they have that Super Bowl picture with Obama, most of them haircuts I did, right? And it was a moment of like, wow. But I will say this, talk about manifestation and the grace and the favor of the Lord. I'll never forget saying, man, because before he got paid on the field, he was doing a ton of endorsements, right? And he was doing a bunch of like gigs from Jimmy Kimmel to Conan O'Brien to, like I said, he did the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards for Viacom 3 years in a row. And so I remember feeling like one day I'm going to be on set, like working with him, you know what I mean? And getting him ready. And because I'm a barber, I used to always want to taper his hair. He used to wear a sideburn stick down here. And I'd be like, man, I wish I could get my hands on him, right? And so eventually I cut his hair for that. And then I got a call from his team and they were like, yo, he needs you in San Diego tonight. And I'm like, it was the first time I'd ever flown out for a client, bro, like that ever. And I was excited. I remember going to like the beauty supply store and being like, oh my gosh. And I flew out there And I go to cut his hair. He wanted a hard part in his hair. I mean, I got him looking on the Mark, like,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we were having dinner, and he's like, "You ain't gonna believe who I'm dating now, or who's basically who's coming over." And I was like who? And he showed me a picture on Instagram of C, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Man, shut your ass up!" like, are you serious? And the rest is history, bro. And like that's the first time they went to the zoo. I think that was one of the first times that the public knew about them. But to be in those like moments where I saw him like light up and he knew his life was about to change. I could feel it in his spirit, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's what I hold on to the most, honestly, bro, is seeing the evolution of not just on the field, but like who they become off the field, right?
Right.
And it goes back to a kid like Julio Rodriguez, right? I've been with Julio since he was 17 years old, bro. This dude is now the face of the MLB. And I'll never forget him coming to the shop telling me the same thing. Like one day he was excited to be in my chair because I was doing all the big stars while he's in the minor leagues. Nobody really knows who he is. I mean, people knew who he was, but he wasn't who he is today. And to watch the maturation of them as people, of them as young men to grown men, and watching that whole thing happen to me has been probably the coolest part of this whole entire journey. Once
Mhm.
everybody's watching and everybody's pulling at them, it becomes a little different, right? Because they got a lot of obligations and things to do. But to see like the sparkle in their eye of knowing what's coming, and just to be a small piece of having an inside track on watching it happen firsthand, is something that like I will always hold on to. And I also, even in my own journey, right? Like I love this kid named Vic Blends, and I think he's doing great at what he does. But I've been pushing barbershop talk for years, bro. And
Mhm.
to watch God, how timing is everything, and sometimes it's your time, and sometimes it's not your time yet. But I'm very, very. I take a lot of great. I guess the best word for it is solace in knowing that anything great or anything good comes with time, and if it's your time, great. But if it's not, like I still rejoice in opportunity God's given me.
Yeah,
So
bro.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, Russell will forever, ever be somebody that I'm forever grateful for. And I wouldn't be here today, man, without each and every one of the guys, but especially Russ, man, for putting his arms around me and loving me in ways that it helped other people have faith and trust in me as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
bro.
forever
Yeah.
grateful.
Solid dude, man. I know he's taking a lot of heat, lately, with the Broncos, but like, I was really close back when we were in Seattle. I was really close with, his personal assistant, Christy, at the time. And like it would be times where I had to pinch myself, you know what I'm saying? Times I would go over for like to his house, Sierra sitting right there. I'm like, I'm about to have dinner. Like I was also really close with his mom, you know what I mean? So, and it was times like that, bro. So I can only imagine, bro, all the experiences that you've had, just like being his go-to guy, for all those years, bro. So I thought that was dope, man. And so a lot of these things kind of just it put you on a progression to like going to the NFL draft, where you were a part of the NFL draftathon, like, which I thought was really dope, man. You got to get it on the four screens, just like a commentator, just like a
Yeah,
broadcaster, so like, so I checked you out, man. So what was that like?
man, the draftathon, it was super special, man. Like Rich Eisen, I don't know if we touched on this, but after the first Super Bowl that the Seahawks had won in New York, as I was a team barber, they put it on Associated Press. I made the USA Today as Earl's taking his barber to the Super Bowl. The second year that came, actually the team in the NFL sent a film crew with me to follow me around for 2 weeks prior to the Super Bowl, where the story was about me traveling from 3 hours away. The Seahawks were as a little boy, my lifelong favorite team growing up, and to be the team barber where I was making that trip across the mountains and just the journey of it. They documented it, right? And so ask the question again. I'm so sorry, bro.
Yeah, no. I was just wondering, like, what was it like? Just being a part of the draftathon, man. And
Oh, draftathon. I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
yeah.
So sorry. Here we go. The draftathon was amazing, man. Honestly, I just signed a partnership with Gillette as and Procter and Gamble and Gillette as one. I think it was the first or second year. One of the beginning Gillette Barber Council members, as what I like to call myself. I think they had it 1 year before I got there. But to join the Gillette Barber Council was life changing for me because it gave me an opportunity to not have to go ask for favors and ask for guys to like come on my show and do this, that, and the third. And this, there's a lot of politics involved, man. There's marketing agents, there's teams that it's easy to step on people's toes just off of them having a relationship with you and wanting to do you a favor. And next thing you know, you have to tread lightly when it comes to asking for too many favors like that. So in my mind, I thought, okay, who's a partner or who's a company that already has partnerships with these guys, that already has, that whole business front end aspect of how to connect the dots, right?
Right,
And so
right.
I said, okay, how do I join a company that already has a roster full of guys that I already have rapport with, that I already can do these things with? And so I joined Gillette Barber Council. The pandemic hit. Literally, I joined the council, I believe, in January, February. The pandemic hit in March. The draft is in April. And they asked me to join Rich Eisen, which Rich had been the one that did the story on me whenever they did the whole Good Luck Barber thing on the second Super Bowl in Arizona. And so I already had, me and Rich had met each other before through that story. And so yeah, they had me on the draftathon. I was there to talk about Procter and Gamble and Gillette and how they were giving, I think, 1 million free razors to the frontline workers, and how they were, taking their factories and creating face shields out of, just trying to help give back to the whole pandemic in a different way.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be a representative of P&G on the draftathon, I think Raheem Mozart was there. There was a country music star. Before I came on, Tom Brady and Russell and these guys were on there with Kevin Hart. Like it was this whole draftathon to kind of give back because we couldn't be in person.
Right.
And so, to have that opportunity to go live on television and, to be trusted by a brand like Procter & Gamble and Gillette, to be able to speak on not only, just what they were doing for the pandemic, for the people, but also to be able to share a couple stories about, the guys I'm connected to. I remember Rich kept on saying, "Run the ball, Mark, give it to Marshawn." And I was like, that's about my pay grade, man. So
Yeah.
no, it was special, bro, and it was something that I will never forget for sure.
That is special, man. I'm glad to hear like you are a part of the council with Gillette. What does that mean for the everyday person, like to understand a little bit more about that partnership? Like I know I've seen myself, different commercials, little clips, on social media, YouTube. So what is that like? What does that entail? That partnership with the council and everything like that.
I mean, it honestly, it meant the world to me, bro, because, honestly, from Washington State here, bro, like barbering culture is not necessarily looked upon as like New York or Philly or, that's it's not looked upon as not say it's not respected, but we've never been given our flowers in a sense. There's never really been a celebrity barber out of Seattle that has taken it to that level. And so to be one of the first to ever do it like that, represent the Pacific Northwest, is something that I really take a lot of pride in, right? But what I love about the Gillette Barber Council is a bunch of great men. I think there's 10 to 12 of us that, they're strategically mapped out around the country where Gillette has picked some very, very, very great men, man. When I say great men, I'm talking there's no competition. It's all us loving on each other and just really, really there we have a dope group thread text that we'll laugh all day. Sometimes guys be just clowning, but then they're also an opportunity to say, hey, Josh, over in Boston, you got 10 barbershops. some of the pitfalls or some of the things we might need help with in the barbershop. It could be down to a playlist or how to structure your pay scale and just to have that sounding board to be able to like fellowship with each other where it's not competition, man. We're here to uplift each other. That has been something that I will never, ever, ever, you know, they're gonna be my brothers for life. But it also served as an opportunity to have a company like Gillette that has a huge partnership with the NFL. That, you know, to be able to have opportunities. One of my career highlight moments, honest to God, was doing the Look Good, Feel Good, Play Good edition with Deion Sanders, right?
Right.
And to do it with Prime himself, man, the originator of it, bro. When I've been preaching this to like all my players of like look good, feel good, play good, like, and then I finally get to do it with the man himself, Prime Deion Sanders, bro. Like that probably would have never happened without, you know, being a part of a great company like Gillette. And so, you know, instances like that, like I said, like you said, the draftathon, Christian McCaffrey right up there. We did, they flew me out to North Carolina where I filmed a commercial with him, got him ready for it, but then we did some barbershop talk on there as well. Me and Christian still, you know, trade, you know, little messages here and there on Instagram. I always congratulate him on big things that he's doing, but just the opportunity to be able to have a bigger network that I'm trusted and have even the opportunity to get to work with the likes of those type of dudes, bro, is something that it wouldn't have happened without, you know, Gillette putting their arms around us and trusting us to do that. And so they've been a great partner. And they're supporting me again with this year's rookie premiere. I'm doing
I was just about to ask you about the rookie premiere. Like, how's that going? Are you ready for it? This is about your third year rolling?
Third year rolling. It is a dream come true, honestly, you know, to be able to come in every year with the newest draftees that just got drafted. They coming right out of mini camp and they're going to LA every year to go basically before the NIL was involved. That was like their first opportunity to do a card signing, right? It was their first brush at like what partnerships look like. They got a lot of the OGs that come through there and like do speaking engagements for the guys just to kind of let them know, whether it be you know, financial literacy, whether it be you know, just different programs that they're offering. We're in the process right now of trying to put together an externship program right now for the NFL PA for any, you know, future player or players that are in the league now or ex-players that want to know more about the barbershop industry in whole, right? Like, how does it work? How does it run? Like, you know, if they want to open up a shop, Sherrod Martin is a guy that's on the Gillette Barber Council that used to be a Carolina Panther, right? And now it's cool to hear, but he's like, I never made Sports Center playing in the league, but I made Sports Center like being a barber on the Gillette Barber Council. They did a national commercial around him, bro, where you know, just to hopefully one day empower ex-players to one day, now that there's barbers in locker rooms that cut hair, my duty and my hope would be to provide jobs for ex-players to be the ones that are in the locker rooms cutting their hair, right? And so like, you know, I think it would be super dope to like, you know, do this externship program and see it through, which we're working on right now. But yeah, rookie premiere 2024 is coming up. What I love about Gillette as well is they support me in that. And so we give away, you know, product and we, you know, not only fellowship with the guys, but we're able to integrate, you know, trusted partners that are already partners of the leagues, right? And that alignment that I have with all of that together is something that, bro, it just fits so nicely that, you know, it's a dream come true.
Yeah, it looks very seamless, bro. Like all of the things that you have and the projects that you're working on, like they just kind of like connect, you know, and around the brand that you have and the influence that you have. And it gives you ways to manifest what's in you day in and day out. But now you can manifest it on these larger platforms that are like-minded. You know what I'm saying? They think like you think. They believe like you believe. They know what your mission is, and then they work with you and support you in doing that, man. So I always appreciated that. And so I also want to talk about your production experience, and I know you have a production team, and you've done like on the mark barbershop talk. So like I know like at one point you already talked about having prime time, but you had Saquon Barkley, Dr. Michael Gervais, who's somebody that I really enjoy following, Brian Alamonte, Jan Mueller. Tell me a little bit about like how, because we've had conversations personally about this for years, but tell me a little bit about like what was your goal, what was kind of your vision for the talks that you wanted to have, in the shop.
Yeah, honestly, I started off by wanting to do, obviously like athletes and have conversations from the chair when it comes to that. But then I came to find out that, the everyday Joe like us and everyday people, like, it's great to hear from celebrities and stuff like that. But it's also, there's a reason why TED Talks is so successful, right?
Yeah.
It's finding linchpins of industries, right? And who are the best of the best in each individual prospective industry that we can bring on and learn more about, right? And I like to open up with like, what makes you tick, what makes you go. On the Mark Talks, that's what we like to talk about. We like to talk about, the highs, the lows, what makes you tick, what makes you go. What are some of the hardships you had to get through to get to where you're at today? What are some of the daily life hacks that you implement in your daily life that help propel you to be an industry leader, right?
Yeah.
And I think just providing value to the everyday person that they can apply to their life today, that is so, to me, impactful, right? And so our show is basically, and we're about to ramp it back up again, but like, Brian Almonte is a perfect example of somebody. He was the head of the Boston Red Sox, one of their key PR people that worked with the NBA, worked with the Knicks, worked with the New York Red Bulls and the MLS. And baseball at one point in time was trying to figure out a way to become culturally relevant again.
Right.
And hear his insight behind, putting him in non-traditional outlets like GQ or Complex, and getting these guys out there in non-traditional ways has been amazing to watch, right? Like to see what they've done with Julio, right? He's out here with Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl weekend. He's over here, courtside, meeting with Durant after the game, doing jersey swaps. Like these are things that, to hear the strategy behind it and how that they're implementing these things to a Jen Mueller that's been an icon out here in the Pacific Northwest when it comes to her broadcasting. I think she won an Emmy Award for the piece she did on Ken Griffey Jr. when he was going into the Hall of Fame. To Michael Gervais, right? Michael Gervais, somebody I'll never forget it. He was one of the first sports
psychologists.
Michael Gervais was one of the first sports psychologists to ever be implanted with a team. Shout out to, to obviously, shout out. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. Sorry. Okay, there we go. That was good. We got to keep going. To Michael Gervais, right? To Michael Gervais. Michael Gervais was somebody that, he was one of the first sports psychologists to ever work full-time with the team. Shout out to Pete Carroll and being, always forward thinking when it comes to that kind of thing. But I'll never forget what Michael said. He said, Mark, you weren't, watching you in the building, you weren't just like this barber on the side that was just cutting some hair. Like there was something about you that like added to the culture, right? And it made me feel, super grateful, but special, man, that he even said that and recognized that, right? And he said something that always stuck with me, and he said, "The best in the world leave nothing to chance, Mark." And he said, if they're gonna, like I said earlier, if they're gonna diet and they're gonna work out, they're also gonna, make sure that they're looking and feeling their best at all times, and they connect all the dots. And I think when you connect all the dots is whenever your manifestation rate elevates to tenfold, right? And when you can learn, that what are the best in the world doing? How are they moving? It's something that I took a lot from. And so I thank every one of those guests for getting on with me, and be on the lookout for some more really dope individuals coming on soon. But it's basically tech talks from the chair, but instead of monologue form, it's more of me throwing alley-oops to them to get off the same messaging and just be valuable when it comes to value that they're providing for the everyday person.
Yeah. That's our hope too, bro. Is that, you know, there may be a young, you know, barber that runs across this podcast, bro, and then they get to hear you and listen to you. And it's for the everyday person, bro. Like, we get to tap into subject matter experts and, you know, with their expertise, and just people that operate at a high level, and then take that education and that knowledge and disperse it out, bro. Like, that's the goal, bro. And I think that's what you're trying to do with the talks, bro. And so I commend you for it, because it's a necessary thing. Education and knowledge is key, bro. It runs
Same
the
to
world.
you. Same to you. Same to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you know, we don't have too much more time, but I gotta talk about your brand new beautiful location and your barbershop in Bellevue, bro. Like, you know, how does it feel to be kind of exactly where you've seen yourself headed towards for all these years? And then, like, what does the shop just mean overall to you, bro? Like, just, you know, like, I know it has to be a surreal thing, man, to go to a spot that's yours every day and bring people to you, bro. And so, like, tell me about it.
Yeah, no, On the Mark Bellevue was years and years in the making. It was something that I tried to do about 7 years ago. It fell through. If anybody knows anything about the Bellevue area here, I call it the Beverly Hills of Seattle.
That's
Uh,
definitely what it is.
it's more like, you know, we're the new Manhattan of Seattle, right? Seattle,
Mhm.
New York City. This is the Manhattan of Seattle, right? When it comes to the business sector and where everything's going down. And so it was something that I always dreamed and envisioned of being in. I think the coolest part about it to me is I want to be one of the first smart barbershops in the world.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we're collecting data. You know, you can go on our booking website right now, and there's a questionnaire that you know, not only collects the customer experience data, but also you can upload your favorite haircut, you know, to where we get to see it before you even walk in the shop of what you're looking
Yeah.
to have, right? But
Mhm.
also at the back end, you know, we're closing that. It's almost like the rider driver feedback on Uber, right? Like
Mhm.
uh I believe every haircut's almost like an algorithm, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
every person should own their own haircut, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't want to give too much away, but
All
you know,
right.
at
All
the end
right.
of the day, it's something that you know, I think we're on the cutting edge of revolutionizing the industry in the sense of that I'm never here to take barbers out. I think one day automation and AI and all that stuff's coming soon, but at the end of the day, I think we're in the great renaissance too. And
Mhm.
no offense to LeBron or anybody that's an athlete, but you can't hit enough threes or game winners to people to run to the store to be like, I want to get the new shoes for, you know, like that day is kind of over. With Jordan was kind of Jordan or Bo Jackson or Deion were the last ones to kind of have that cool factor where people were doing that. And so people are buying the new off-whites, the new essentials, the new Yeezys, like these the new Travis Scotts, right?
Mhm.
These are people that have never scored a bucket or scored a touchdown in their life, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so like at the end of the day, like just being able to be a creator on that aspect of it and that front is super exciting for me. I love to storytell around the type of haircut I'm doing for in each in particular like iconic moment, right? Like
Mhm.
we got the Super Bowl one day, and you know there'll be a day where you know the top 10 or 15 guys that potentially could win the MVP are going to get haircuts that you know there's a story behind it. They're dedicating this small piece of their haircut to you know a charity foundation or a kid that they're looking to inspire, and then they go on and win that, and next thing you know, they are you know you can in-game purchase it on Madden to buy it for your own avatar, right? And so, you know, it's just like kind of the Fortnite thing. You can get a free Fortnite skin, but why are you buying the Travis Scott skin? Why are you buying the Silk Sonic skin, right? And so I think people are moved by storytelling and iconic moments.
Yeah.
And I truly believe being a celebrity barber and having the opportunity to create art for those iconic moments
Right.
are something that here someday soon. There's going to about to be an explosion to it that
Mhm.
I'm excited to see happen because boy, let me tell you, I'm pushing hard.
Yeah. Push hard, bro. Don't stop. Keep your feet on the gas, man. And
Yeah.
like, you're on the forefront of this thing, man. And so like that brings me to my next thought and question is, like in being on the forefront and being a business owner and having to manage, your space and then also like your brand and getting out into the community, like you have your on the mark, your project, I want you to talk about, but like as far as on the mark project, we'll talk about that second. But first I wanna talk about, what has that journey been like as being an entrepreneur, bro? Like having to run and gun and get things done, work with legal, work with different partners, all the things that you need to fill your space, get new clientele, bring in new employees and all the things, bro. You got to keep the ship running, bro. How do you do it, dog?
Man, honestly, throughout the years, what I've learned is I've really had to find great teammates, right? I've had to
Yeah.
find great people that are great at maybe not necessarily my strength, right?
Yeah.
Like, and even if you're great at all these things, there's a saying that says, when you come to a meeting or come with somebody and they say, "So who you here with?" And you say, "It's just me." They say oftentimes, "I don't believe you." So like at the end of the day, like there's no such thing as doing it all on your own because you can only go so far. To scale this to the level that I'm trying to scale it to, it takes a great dev team that I have behind me. It takes great operational people that have, God puts specific people in your life for specific seasons.
Yes.
And what I found is like Megan Sobchak, she just launched my new 501c, which is the On the Mark project, right? The On the Mark project is about pouring into the youth of today in many different ways, but it's also just being, keeping my eyes wide open to what's needed. But the coolest part about it is I'm from Sunnyside, Washington. It's 2.5 hours away from here. I love to get back to the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, but I made a promise to my board and Megan that, hey, anything we do in Seattle or anything we do philanthropically throughout the region, we have to do it in my hometown too.
Right.
So to be able to do those things is something that I'm super excited about. It's been a long time coming to be able to create the On the Mark project. It was something that we got started before the pandemic that had to be put on hold. But Megan has a very, very, for somehow, some way, God has put tremendous talent around me. She's worked with the likes with, I think, Pat Peterson to Bruce Arians to, Jerome Bettis, where she's ran some of their charity and philanthropic give back in ways that she's tried and true. Risk management is everything to me when it comes to making sure that we're crossing, all the T's and dotting the I's. And so to have great team members around me like that is something that, man, like I said, I'm not this good, but he is, because these are integral people, bro, that I could never, this is their expertise. And so how do I put the people that this is what they do on an everyday basis in place to be able to lead the charge in each perspective field that I'm trying to do, right? And so I think, that's really it. It's like, when sometimes I'm here to pull this way and then God has this door that's like illuminating that I'm like, I got to walk through this, man. Like, this is obvious that like, I can't pass up working with this person right now that obviously is an industry expert at this, right? Like some of my dev team guys, man, they got PhDs in string theory, bro. Like, are you kidding me? Like I would never know where to start. And so, just finding those assets and those people, they're not just assets, but they're great human beings, man, that have good hearts and that are in it for the right reason. And I think whenever your morality really aligns with what they're shooting for and they believe in you, is when magic happens. And so that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, that is when the magic happens, man. And I love it because God will give you a vision, but then, he brings people in your life to allow you to accomplish and execute on that vision, bro. And talented people that are usually smarter than the visionary, you know what I'm saying, in order to operate and execute, you know what I mean? So like, it looks like you doing the same thing. For us, it's the same way, for one, my wife, bro, like she's so much more smarter than I am, you know what I mean? And she's VP of this thing, and she, just brings so much life and wisdom to everything we're doing. And then I got this dope marketing and operations team, man, and they are just ride or die. I've known them for years. They're based out of Croatia.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were living in Seattle at the time.
Wow.
We actually hired Martina, to work for Greater for a while. She did a phenomenal job, and I was like, no, I need to work with these. I need to work with them, and bro, they elevated us in ways that I can't even tell you, bro. So I get it, and I believe in it, man, and I commend you for the way that you've gone about really everything about your life, bro. And we'll wrap up, but I just wanted to say, man, you're somebody that's a brother to me, and I'm just like, floored, by, the way things have kind of just fallen in place, with effort, with work, with intention, but they fallen in place in a way to where I know that, like, God, you're walking in your purpose, bro, and it's a blessing to see, bro. So
Same to you, brother. Same to
yeah,
you.
man.
I gotta give you your star. I gotta give you your star. I gotta give you your roses, flowers, in the same way, bro. Like, this is not easy. This is I think Ye said one time, you think everything's going, all of a sudden the lake falls over and you're like, what is going on here? Right. And just keep steadfast on your purpose of our influence, to watch you continue to keep chopping wood when, oftentimes, like, especially people that you love, bro, and that are brothers of yours. And sometimes things fall off, or sometimes things happen, or, the industry is a very, very tricky industry where, especially when you got something special,
Mhm.
sometimes the carpet will be pulled from you,
Yeah.
and you'll look up and you'll be like, what just happened? And you have to, not cut your face off, spot your nose, right? And
Mhm.
I always use this term, live to play another down. And
Yes.
sometimes you got to learn to just be like, all right, all right, all
Right.
right. Like, I understand, I'm sorry this went that way, but hey, I wish you nothing but the best, not be hardened by this world of like, man, why is like F that, da, 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 da. Nah, man, you win some and you learn some, like the great Doug Baldwin said. So,
That's right. That's right.
that's dope to see you keep pushing and striving, bro. And in the meantime, you've been able to build a beautiful family as well. And so, bro, I just want to pat you on the back, bro, and just say, keep doing what you do. And great things are ahead, bro. The best is yet. I am 100% in belief of that. So
Yeah,
continue to
bro.
do what you do, boy.
That means a lot to me, bro. You don't even know, man. And it's definitely an uphill battle, but like encouragement like this, it fuels me, man. It keeps me going. And conversations like these, man, they just give me the motivation, bro, to just know, like, okay, God has me here. He has people that are in my corner. Even though there's been times I thought that there wasn't. So like you just like rally and just quickly just like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna get on the podcast here, like whatever, let's do it. I'm happy to do it. Like that means a lot. So we're gonna wrap up, brother. We like to end every episode with asking our guests to make a somewhat of a power statement, basically answering the question for everybody to know, and then for yourself to know, just to kind of like confirm some things within you. I know that's what doing this exercise did for me, but just, if you were to answer the question or fill in the blank, I influence blank, what would
Hmm.
that be for On the Mark?
That's a great question. I influence helping people stay on the mark. And staying on the mark to me is living in your purpose, point blank, period.
Mhm.
Whatever that means, man. Like, you know, I influence not only the influencers, but I also influence my children. I also influence, the everyday guy that comes here that I don't know what he does, but he's coming in, and I get text messages often like, man, when I came through there today, bro, like, you don't know what you did for me today by just uplifting me and helping me. A guy came through today and he's like, man, I got home and my wife was like, that's all I needed was a haircut. And he was like, you don't understand, man. Like this dude, like, you know, he lifted me up in ways that, you know, not just to pat myself on the back, but just it was just affirmations of like, you know, it's not just important people. It's not just people that everybody's important, but like people that the world looks upon as like the important people. But it's about everybody, bro. And to have that opportunity to use this chair as my ministry and as my place to influence in the smallest and biggest ways is the greatest honor I could ever have. It says it in the Bible, there's no greater reward than to be of service.
Yes.
And so I take that to heart. I've had some different things in my life recently that have been, you know, a couple health scares that I've been like, you know, it shook me at first, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna be honest with you, I am grateful that it just happened. I'm grateful because it recentered me back into a lot of the traumas and things that you think that are important, they ain't important. And at the end of the day, what's really important if everything ended today is how did you influence that guy from the chair today? And that means living in your purpose, and that means helping them get on the mark.
Yes.
So, helping people get on the mark from all walks of life is how I influence the best.
Yes, I love it, bro. That was beautiful, man. And what an amazing conversation, bro.
I appreciate you, bro.
I want to thank you, of course, man. My heart's full of gratitude of the fact that you gave your time today, man. I know you're a busy man, and this means the world to me. So I'm gonna let you get out of here. We have our next podcast coming up. You know, it's gonna be launched in 2 weeks. Then you guys will see Mark's coming up on the social media channels, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, coming soon, man. So thank y'all for listening. Mark, you take care, bro. Salute. And I'll talk to you next time, bro.
My dog, man. I appreciate you. And McGee, keep flying high, my boy. We gonna see each other soon. Hopefully the next one we do it here in the shop right here.
Yes, sir. We got to.
All right, my guy. Have a good one. Thank you again, bro.
All right, you too, dog.
Peace.